But I think now people are using multiple apps and it's tiring for a lot of people. And I just want to have something for people to say, this is home for me. I could use one app and get the job done and I had to use nothing else. Maybe another app, maybe two apps. But just to get the job done right, use one app.
Hi guys, we are back on the shop where we share any insight with helping the manufacturing worlds. And today we have a special guest, Kaya Wesley. And it's a special guest in a way that he has a mission with his team. They are trying to bridge the gap between the technical people from the shop floor and software solutions powered by AI. So let's dive in. Kaya, good morning, good afternoon. How are you?
Doing well, sir. Doing well. Couldn't wait for this podcast, man. So I'm glad to be here.
No, that's great. Thank you. Where are you based exactly?
Well, yeah, it's gonna be based in California. I'm actually close up north, so like Monterey County area.
That's a good start, actually. That's a good introduction. Tell us a little bit about your background. What did you do with Rivian, and how did you end up creating that startup?
So, I'll try to keep it not too lengthy because it goes all the way from 2018 until close to 2025, 2024. So I was a contractor for quite some time, working around the likes of a Volkswagen, BMW, trying to think of more of them, man. So many of them. Nissan, and there was a few other ZF transmissions. They do a lot of transmissions for BMW. And that was pretty much about the most I could kind of remember. Oh, and also Lucid as well, when they first kind of really started. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. That was an eye-opening experience for me because I'd never really gotten to that whole EV car, hype at all. And then I thought it was hype until I really got there and I saw what they were doing, and I'm like, it was pretty exciting stuff. And
So what was your role in all those companies?
So I was actually just a regular tech when I first started off. And then you kind of get to a point where you could, become a tech 1, tech 2 technician, and you kind of work up the ranks within the own contracting company, which is pretty cool. So you start to kind of branch off to different sort of, ranges of tech. I mean, things that you're working on. That was pretty crazy because a lot of times it's always something new. So you're learning on the fly, which is pretty crazy because you're remembering, things that you've done on multiple different cars on multiple different occasions. And that was the craziest part for me personally. So I'm like, wow, one moment I'm doing something with the, transmission, and I'm doing it for maybe 6 months. And then after that, you're going to do something completely different. You're working on, anything from, wiring harnesses or, planning or prepping. Cause that was the biggest thing that I saw with, Rivian and Lucid was a lot of the prep work that had to go into the prototype vehicles. That was the most fun I've ever had working on a car. Cause you're actually, trying to solve problems a lot of the time. And that was exciting for me. And around that time was like a tech 2. So again, you're advancing up, you're kind of experiencing new, different realms of working on vehicles. A lot of times it was just fixing cars that had maybe not necessarily recalls, but they were probably having issues before they were getting shipped off. And so that was pretty cool as well. And that was the reason why I kind of started this whole thing, was because of the things I've saw and saw that, the things that I witnessed as a tech, like, okay, these guys are having some major issues and even I'm having some major issues, and just communication was the biggest thing,
So you were on the floor, you saw hands-on what were the problems, and that's where came from the idea of OPS. And tell us, how did you find that name and what do you do at OPS?
So OPS was a pretty nifty or pretty, barbaric way to get the name. Reason being is because I couldn't get any sort of name that wasn't already taken before. I didn't want to use anything that had, AI front and center in the name. I kind of want to make something that felt easy enough where it's like our premise is going to be AI, but I think we want to be bigger than that. What's bigger than that would be something that is self-serving a lot of the times. It's the cornerstone right now currently, but I didn't want that to be the primary focus for too long. It reminds me of, long story short, it reminds me of the time where a lot of people, when the phone books came out, and everyone's trying to get anything that had started with the word A to be on the top of the list. Feels like AI is the same thing right now. Everyone's trying to go for that hype and that name, because it's going to be generating a lot more, looks and eyes. But over time, I feel like it's just going to dilute, maybe, perhaps. I could be wrong. So I thought, okay, let's get a brand new name because obviously everything else is taken. So, I'm a big movie buff. So I was like, well, let me think, what would, these big guys do that are creating Avatar and Star Wars? What would they do? So I said, okay, let's just make a whole new word. And so that was the premise of it. And op means operations. And then AI obviously is in the name, and then us as far, for unifying. So Opeus is just is something that I birthed on my own. And I was like, man, we got to figure out something new because these words are not working, man. I was trying to do everything I can. Everything was taken. And I was like, we got to move quick. So we can't sit here too long thinking about anything. And Opeus is stuck.
And that's a good story. And actually, you're right. There is like a gold rush right now for AI. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody is jumping on that wave. And you
Yep.
got to take not like advantage, but I mean, you need to surf that wave. And this is what
Yep.
you guys are trying to
Absolutely.
do.
Yes,
So
sir.
what's your primary service at OPS?
So I know you asked before what's my primary role. I think my primary role is pretty much anything and everything, right? I think as a CEO or as a founder, you're gonna have to try to stretch your arms as far as you can, and learn as you go. And a lot of things I'm not perfect at, especially when it comes down to building something like this that I've never really done before, but I'm confident enough that I can do it, and I know what quality may look like, or I know what a good service, program would do for somebody, especially in the field that we were, that I was in at least. And so knowing that, I think I have a unique perspective and perhaps also a ability to maybe even learn quicker because it's based off what I know. And so I do a lot. If anything, I'm doing anything from marketing. I do anything from coding. I dabble back, here and there. But of course, you gotta have to take some of that time and maybe give someone else that leeway. And that's the other thing I'm trying to do now is like, get someone on board to help me out that's also, an expertise in their own field, perhaps as coding, and they're just really good at that while I could focus on other things and also still help them. But that's where, again, as a CEO, you're just trying to do everything you can. But you're also not too cocky about it. Just trying to be humble, just trying to still learn, and I think that's the biggest thing for me right now is still trying to be hungry to learn more as I keep going and also being able to say, okay, I could leave that now for somebody else to take care of, and that's the big job for me as right now as a CEO.
Yeah, two big thing in what you just said. Like when you are the CEO, it's a startup. You have to have multi-hat. You need to
Yes.
do HR. You need to do marketing. You need to be the
Yep.
sales guy and the
Yep.
tech guy. Right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, that's tough. I mean,
Yeah, it
but this
is.
is the right mindset because you need to learn every day. You do something different every day.
Yep.
You learn, and if you keep learning, you're gonna grow.
Yep.
The day you stop
Yep.
learning is the day you start failing.
Exactly.
But it's
Yep.
it's great. So, what's the service of your company to your clients, or who are your clients? How do you find your clients right now?
So the biggest way for me to find my clients is just, I think the way, old school way to say it is guerrilla marketing, right? Going out there and just seeing a shop. Even if I'm driving, I'll, stop the car. Like I'm gonna pull over really quick and see what do you like, what do you do? What do you need? And I think that's a good way of doing it because that keeps it more humane. And again, Opeus, us unifying us as a whole and making sure that we keep it front facing a lot or, making sure a lot of times a lot of companies just kind of hide behind a veil, and I feel like that doesn't really break, through a lot for a lot of people, especially for me. I love seeing that human touch to everything. And so if I can see that and if I could provide that and make sure that people could contact me directly if they have an issue, I think that would be my biggest goal. So yeah, outreaching is the biggest thing right now of just, going out there and seeing what people's pain points are and seeing if we could solve that for them. And, just take it with the ladder. Right now, we're going to start small, go to, mini mom and pop shops. We can go to dealerships, perhaps we could try there as well. And then go hard and go, big. If we can't go big now, great. But I think that's not our primary focus right now because we do see a lot of issues in the mom and pop shop areas. I mean, these guys can really hardly afford, the cost of overhead. Like, I don't know what their, overhead costs would look like, but I know it's not as big as these grand companies. They have so much money to dump into different programs and they could afford it. And so if we can try to make it cost effective, right, and still be able to provide a great service, I think that'd be my biggest goal right now.
And those mom and pop shops, how do they react when they understand, oh, but it's AI? How the market, the trend in those small companies? What's the reaction?
Well, I think based off of the fact that yes, AI has all they know right now is AI does funny pictures and videos, right? For the vast majority of people. I think mom and pop shops, they may only know about their ecospace, which is cars or, anything else, maybe smaller tech stuff. But usually everyone I talk to about AI doesn't really grasp what it can do yet. And I think that's the funny part right now. We live in a space where people just think, oh, I could just create a meme or create a picture or create a video, and that's it. It's very surface level. And so, that's the most exciting thing for me is when I break that ice of like what we could do is this. They're like, "Oh, we could do that." I'm like, yeah, with AI, you can do these things. And I think I love that feeling so much more, like giving people that sort of um freedom to kind of think about something new, completely new, I mean, videos and photos, I mean, yeah, we could create them. You could take a photo anytime you want, or you could take a video anytime you want, AI or not. But that's an easy thing. That's such an easy thing you can really do. They're not knocking that knows that really put an effort into it. Like I love photography, I love film. So, but I'm saying the ease of use is just taking your phone out and taking a photo. It's ease of use, and I think people are so easy to kind of push them to say, hey, take the easy route. This is the easy thing you can do with it. But AI right now is very exciting because of what we can offer. And again, I'm just trying to explain that to a lot of people and say, hey, this is your pain point, right? Okay, great. If you're having problems with, let's say for instance, customer retention, and you're trying to use our app, maybe we can bridge that gap where AI can do a lot more outreaching that you don't have to do, or we can figure out how to, what's the extra, bonus service we can add on top of the car service we're providing, right, to a car. So, don't forget to add a wiper, fluid or whatever, and then top that off. Like those are things we can try to nudge customers or even our clients to say, hey, you know what? I never thought of that. How to constantly remind my people what to do. That's what our app is going to, be there for. So it's all those things, man. You have to sit there and realize a lot of people aren't as, fascinated or maybe even interested as we are, but it's new. And I think a lot of people are just kind of like, it's new. I've seen Terminator once before. I don't want to go down that road. So I don't blame people. I don't really blame people. I think that's just part of being human, and you're trying to be very protective over what you have. So it's very, very important. And I think the biggest thing before we go on to the next question you have, I think the biggest thing here, I think most people have been thinking about with AI, which is very fair, is pretty much security, right? You don't want your things to leak. You don't want information to get out. And I think those are the biggest hurdles I think that AI may have in the future, perhaps if we don't address that first. I know we have protocol to follow up on that. I think that's great, but I think if we don't push that forward first, then I think that's when we lose the customer and the clients. So if you don't put them, saying, hey, we don't care about AI as much as the next guy does, but we do care about security the most, and we want to make sure your information, your data is taken care of, and then we could say we have AI is a way better approach to me. So I think, yeah, that's going to be our biggest, hurdle, I think, going forward right now, even for our own company, because you're dealing with so many different customers and clients and their data. That's scary for me, and I want to make sure that we handle that the best way we can.
Anything new is scary, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
and especially for this industry, because the
Mm-hmm.
mom and pop shops are old school industry and they
Mm-hmm.
don't use much technology. And now
Right.
when it comes to time to choose amongst all of those thousands of tools available on the
Mm-hmm.
market, how do they decide, all right, I'm going to go with Opeus? What's differentiate you from the rest, from the crowd?
So I think what differences us from the crowd would be our ability to like willing to take risks. And again, back to what I was saying before, also keep in mind of the customer and the clients, keep that open communication up as much as possible, seeing what they like, because I think the customers do know what they would want to see. If it doesn't align with what we want, obviously, or our values, of course, we won't go that route. So they could suggest something way out of whack. I'm like, okay, well, that's too far fetched, but we'll consider maybe me in the middle, maybe, something like that. I think is great, but open line of communication is the first thing. I think the second biggest thing is we want to incorporate a way to, without giving spoilers away, because I think we want to save this for another time. But I will say this: I think the biggest exciting thing for Pace would be, we're trying to do a big, huge collaboration. So with just anybody and everybody, all creatives possible. The way I can kind of give people a hint without giving it too much away would be, think about a world where, and this is my sort of idea, would be bringing and bridging gaps with different products, different programs, and giving it all in one sort of approach, right? I think, like you said, people are dabbling into different programs and they're dabbling into different things, and which is great, but it loses a customer because it's then I got to use 50 billion apps just to, and again, we've met before and we've kind of talked about the hurdles of what most shops have to deal with, or most people have to deal with. We're going to be editing probably this video. You're going to be editing this video probably on, Adobe Premiere, and that's just one solid app. Maybe you might be using 2 or maybe 3 average. But I think now people are using multiple apps and it's tiring for a lot of people. And I just want to have something for people to say, this is home for me. I could use one app and get the job done and I have to use nothing else. Maybe another app, maybe 2 apps. But just to get the job done right, use one app. And I think I've heard so many stories of 5 different apps being used in a day. And I'm like, can we utilize that time for something else? Can we just bridge gaps over and maybe do partnership deals or something like that? I mean, I know it's hard. I know that's a hard ask, but I think, if everyone wants to kind of, I'm gonna use the terminology, eat well, and we all want to share that pie together, why not just collaborate? Why not just bridge gaps to make it easier for a customer, right? I'll throw another hint. I mean, you're seeing it now with Xbox, right? A good example of that is tech. With what they're doing right now is bridging that gap. PlayStation's trying to bridge gaps and do collaborations. You're seeing Xbox and PlayStation unify. It's things like that I would rather see than people just trying to be, no, we're separate, we're doing our own thing, that's it. And it's like, I'd rather not mess with you then. I'd rather go somewhere else. I want to do something completely different. And I think that's why I think we're going to be completely, I wouldn't say better, but a good alternative as to other programs out there.
Well, so your let's say your idea is like a Swiss knife of those apps.
Yeah.
You mentioned it as, if we use 6 different apps to just edit a video, one, it's time consuming, 2, it's costly. And you need one platform. You need why don't we work together and collaborate instead?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point. So, and you said a hint, you are trying to collaborate with anyone. Can you disclose the name or not yet?
Yes and no. I do have a lot of names. I do have a lot of contacts right now still that I'm in touch with. Trying to see if we could work together on something, or if we could, utilize features that, they have, things like that. I'm trying to go ahead and do in the future. I don't have a timeline on that as of yet. Just based off the fact of, I know that's going to be a long journey because there's so many different apps out there. And again, the biggest thing would be making sure that we are doing it the right way and not trying to rush it too much either. So if we could try to get it done quickly and just shake hands and move on, that'd be great. And I think that's where I'm at right now. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think announcements will be made hopefully within the year. We'll probably have our first, maybe, I'm hoping maybe 3 new major features or 3 new things that we haven't announced yet before. And features will be rolling out soon, our own features that we want to see on the floor, and then so on and so forth. So yeah, we're really excited for that.
So you're keeping the suspense for us right now, but that's good.
Absolutely,
good.
Absolutely.
We need a little bit.
Yeah. And honestly, on top of that too, I'm a huge strategy guy. I think you want to keep all your little, adversaries in one place. Like, okay, well, they're here. We'll tell y'all when they're moving closer, but until then, we'll hold it off until then. It also keeps it more exciting. We're gonna again, I think the biggest thing for me is, again, being a movie buff, I'm realizing a lot of times, I think that drives a lot of push and a lot of like flair. I'm a huge movie guy. When you go to movies and you're like watching trailers, it's like, oh, I can't wait to watch that. And I think if you don't do that as a company either, people are just like, oh, well, I know it's coming, or I know this is coming. Like it's like, kind of gets kind of boring at one point.
Absolutely. You need to give tiny pieces one by one just to tease the
Absolutely.
auditor or the people. Okay.
Mhm.
So after almost 2 years in, right? 2 years in the company
Yes,
as a
sir.
startup owner and founder,
Mhm.
what advice would you give to anyone else trying to start a small business like that? What was the biggest challenge and your advice?
It's a good one because I mean, so many different things you could, you know, do before you even get started. I think my biggest thing, um, there's no perfect moment. I'll say that. There's no perfect moment. There's no perfect sort of, I have a lot of different things I'm so thankful for having, a MacBook Pro, a computer, or a phone. But those things are just a small piece of what it takes to really be, to start a company off. I think now at this point, I'm realizing that. I always used to say this analogy of like, throw me in the wild with just, a Swiss Army knife. I'll have to figure it out. And I think that's how life should be, just throw yourself out there. Don't care too much about, oh, I have to have this thing before I start. I got to have my life perfect before I start. There's no such thing as that, right? If you wait for the perfect moment, the perfect wave, you'll like really just waste your time doing that. And another great analogy I think people should take away from, if you're fortunate enough to live near a beach, or if you're wanting to watch surf videos, watch them. I think you'll learn a lot watching them, because these guys will sit there and wait for the wave. Some guys are probably seeing one miles away. And I think that's the beauty of catching a wave, is let these guys catch the biggest wave. That's fine. Then another wave is coming up, and eventually just wait your turn. But while you're waiting your turn, prep, still be ready. They're still paddling. And I think that's the thing about the perfect moment. There's no such thing as that. There's no such thing as a perfect wave. I love when people fail at a wave. You think it's one, but it's not a real wave. It's a small one. That's still great. That's still trying to attempt at it. And I think, don't wait for it. Don't wait for that perfect wave. Just go for it anyway. You never know. And it's worth a shot, man. It's worth a shot.
So start before you are ready. And
Mm-hmm.
if you
Yeah.
fall, get right back up. This is the
Yeah.
startup mindset.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I do believe in that, man.
Let's jump maybe in a demo. Why don't we do
Okay.
a demo of your app, Kaya?
Okay. Yep.
If you don't
Sounds
mind.
good. Yeah, for sure. Let me get I've had a big problem with that for almost like a month or two. I had locked in, and I was like, because we couldn't get to the stage. Like, I was talking to everyone I can to figure out, why is this thing not, you know, being put online right now. It's nothing's working. I was trying to, you know, push it, and it just kept failing. Just kept failing, kept failing. I didn't know why. And so I locked in for a month, and legitimately got to a point where I finally could say it's finally online. So glad we got to this point. Still a lot more to work on, but I'm super glad and super fortunate to see it get here. So I'm super happy about that, man. Just want to give y'all some context, but yeah.
Yeah,
So
no,
I'm
that's
trying
great.
to
And this is
see if
the
I.
beta.
This is the beta. Yep. Yep. It's the beta version right now. Let's see if I can continue here. So yeah, we are allowing people to log in through, as you guys can see, through anything you guys would like to log into or log in with or sign up with. We're allowing that. And I love that sort of ability to say, hey, I want to log in with whatever account that I want to have, or log in with Google. As you guys can see, that I could do as well. And I love doing that. And I love that, have that ability, because you never, like, again, you don't know how another sort of, I guess you can say, like, business may operate their login information, right? And so I want to get that ease of use even for them. So when they're onboarding their own, technicians or engineers, they may be using nothing but Slack. And I want to be able to say, hey, you guys can log in with Slack and not log in through, email. And I think I kind of want that, sort of feature where it's ease of use. And even the clients could say, okay, great. We don't have to do a whole new sort of onboarding process with them. This is just a one-stop shop. So let me go through. All right, make this full screen here. All right, so this is the home page. Obviously, the dashboard is empty because we don't have any data to show. But obviously, every sort of these top four boxes would be anything that the I guess the customer or client would like to see. So we want to showcase maybe recall or the recall rate or what's going to be worked on, the cars that were pushed out and things of that. So those updates can be seen right on your dashboard. And I kind of love to have that right there front and center when someone logs in. And I kind of want to make it to feel like how can I say it, like better than a stat sheet, I guess. Well, how can I
What do you
go? How
mean?
can I say this?
Like,
So
it's all in one place and it's user
yeah, but
friendly.
pretty much, yes, exactly. User friendly, it's stuff like that. So the idea that came out from the dashboard and how we're going to be addressing this app, I could kind of give a hint to what we're going to try to push to. So if you're a gamer, if you know what games are, if you've been around, yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of people do know what a video game is. You're logging in and you're going to see your stats, right? You're going to see your KDs or what's your favorite weapon to use and things like that. We want to kind of bridge that gap and make it addicting and fun. So that's where also we're going to try to be different than other sort of companies out there or other programs that's out there, is actually give people something fun to look at for once, right? And I think that's something I'm striving for right now. It's like, man, I know video games are addicting. People are going to work and going around in a game. How can we bridge that sort of same feeling, or at least you're excited about work, or at least excited to see your stats, or make it competitive, and make it at least a healthy competitive, not toxic, but healthy enough to say, hey, it's enough to get people to be excited to show up to work every single day. We do allow the ability for people to shut it off or shut it on. So if it does get too, hectic or whatever, it's just a feature that is able to be showcased or not. So the end customer and the user has the ability to either showcase their, sort of stats or whatever. And a lot of it is just minute. It's just something super small and super fun to me. I think that could kind of, again, give some edge into the program world.
Okay, I love that. We are missing a lot of fun in the workplace, right? For any type
Yes,
of
we
work.
are.
I love
Yeah.
the idea. So
Yeah.
when is it gonna be ready? Because it's only the beta, so
Yes.
what's the
So
timeline?
the
Yes.
timeline right now would be about, we're gonna give ourselves at least about 2 months right now, or a month, for it to fully be out there for everyone else to kind of use, because we're kind of still in this weird alpha beta phase right now, just because we're still finding a little bit of issues here and there that we're trying to work out. So my big plan right now would be, for sure, beginning of the year, I want to do a big hoorah and say, okay, it's done. Like, let's go ahead and push this out. Let's get some traction. And that's my biggest goal right now, is to see it flourish in the beginning of the year
Awesome.
and, live on its own, because you just don't know what happens, right? And I can't be too much of a parent to this program. Like, no, it's not ready yet. Like I said before, there's not a perfect moment. So there's going to be some hiccups. There are going to be some flaws. But I'm excited to just kind of see what people kind of create with it or do on their own with it. It may have its own sort of, phase where it's like people are just doing their own thing that I never thought of, or people are suggesting things I never thought of before. So you never know until you put it out.
Yes. And you can
Yeah.
customize that thing, right? Because now you're on the AI
Yes.
assistant.
Yes. This is the AI assistant, still work in progress. We're going to try to, of course, work on this a lot more over time. But as you guys can see, there's try ask about what recall risks are there for certain parts. Not sure if they still work, but we could try and see. Because that data probably not will be on here since we're still in that. I think this, yeah. See, so this account doesn't have any of those part numbers. So once you start having part numbers and you start really utilizing it, like any other AI assistant, they're going to start to learn more about, what parts you have, what's your recall risk, part tracking, supplier risk. All that stuff won't really occur until you have your own sort of data. And about data, actually, this is another good I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a question people are gonna, ask, is how, or, do we have to input that data manually? That's where certain, partnerships or certain abilities to go and export your data safely will be introduced in the future as well. So I want to be able to give that sort of, again, it's a security protocol thing I'm also going to consider, and as well as make sure it's ease of use. So those two have to meet in the middle, right? So make sure that they're happy, the customer or client's happy, and the end user is also happy because it's just ease of use. So if you want to export that data that you have and you want the AI to see where your risks are at, this is the best way to do it. But again, security. I can't stress that enough. So that's why we're trying to soft roll that out and see where it goes and see where it leads us to. But we don't want to rush that process, because if anything leaks or anything goes wrong, that's on us, right? So we want to make sure that we get this correct.
You don't want to be liable. That's, of course.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whatever.
So as you guys can see, recalls is kind of buggy right now. And that's just going to be a recall page to see. It's almost the same as the dashboard. Gives you a little bit more insight as to what you're seeing isn't working, that you're, working on as far as the car goes. We do have a manual as well. So you get to see, a manual for a certain vehicle. I'm not too sure if this one's going to load either, since the data is probably not in the software itself. But that's the idea that we also want to have, is making sure that there's a vehicle manual for each vehicle that's on the shop line. That way it's just right there in front of you. If you need it, it's there. And AI also could assist you with that vehicle at the same time. So the AI could see it, what vehicle you're working on. Yeah.
Yeah, that features is probably a huge time saver for the operators, right? Because instead of going through page by page, AI is really good at that, at analyzing a huge amount of data in a very short time. So this one is interesting features, definitely.
Yeah, and I think what I love about the vehicle manual as well is it can introduce a whole plethora of options, or a real-time assistant where it can even send you videos, YouTube videos that maybe could address the issue. I think that's something that I want to have for, a tech that's working on the line, or engineer that has a question about certain things. And that's the biggest thing, is where engineers aren't really working on cars every single time, but they could use this app and they could learn more about their job and what other cars and other cars before them how they were operating. I think that gives a unique sort of, learning experience that you don't really necessarily get anywhere else. So I think I see this app being bigger than just a program. It could really just be something huge in the future. And so here's tasks. It's about the same as recalls on the recalls page, but here you can see open task currently that's being worked on, breaks, on hold, scheduled. So all these you can see here. You can see the technician that's working on it, their badge number, which we either provide or the client provides. So that's just something that vaguely we put out on our own. And if they want to use our own version of it, they can. But it gives them their own little, number there. You get to see more information. I'm not sure if it's going to work. There you go. So you can also see the tasks that was also the steps they took. They removed the rails, removed the brake calipers and the brackets. And you get to see all that stuff here. You can see that they attached a PDF file. Obviously not clickable here because I don't have that file on here, or at least on the app. And then as you go down, you can have notes there as well. So it's pretty nifty as far as the information you get to have. You get to see estimated hours, the actual hours being performed, last updated. Yeah, so you get a lot of information right there in front of you. And I think that's something that's missing also. Again, you're going to have to get most of this information. You probably have to reach out via Slack or text message. And I didn't want to have that sort of be a barrier. I think I wanted to have a way to see exactly what's being worked on right on the go. You can see this on your phone. That's one big thing that I was, striving for here with this.
All right.
And then go on to orders. This is orders that you're putting in. So if you're putting an order in, you could create an order and see it right here. If it's being delivered, if it's being pending, if it's in transit, you can see that all here. This is separate from tracking, and I'll talk about tracking, what that really necessarily means. So hidden tracking would pretty much show you anywhere from total parts being tracked, active batches. So those are batches of boxes of parts that you have somewhere. And then you also have pending orders as well. So what I wanted for this page would be a way for people to track parts even inside their own warehouse or their own building and see exactly where they're at. And I think I want to give a way for a lot of these, clients and customers and even technicians and engineers, a way for them to putting an order in their own, like you would for Amazon, in your own building and say, hey, I need this part at my bay. Can you give it to me? And so you'll have someone that just transports everything over straight to you. Because we've had that, I've seen that at every sort of big warehouse or every big plant that I've been to. Volkswagen had a similar process to this, or even Rivian or Lucid. But it was a pretty messy situation. A lot of the times everything would be via Slack. But on here, I kind of want to give a way for you to really see movement and see it being, sort of tracked and seeing where parts are being moved to.
Okay. Is there like
sometime?
Sorry,
Mhm.
is there a link with like a QR code or a scan?
Yeah, so
Barcode?
that's on here, and I believe it's not gonna probably showcase.
Okay.
Again, work in progress. But yeah, so there is a way once you hit parts. I believe we could probably say it in the parts area. But one of these, either parts or inventory, should show you that. On tracking, you should be able to click parts and still be able to see what parts you're trying to track.
Okay.
But yeah, parts and inventory should, definitely give you the ability to see that, even in real time. And then here's what we're talking about, the technician stats. It's more of like the gaming sort of vibe that I was trying to go for. See scan parts, 100% accuracy, completed 5 tasks under 30 minutes each. Like, I just kind of wanted to give something of a taste of what we can probably provide. The biggest thing was also maybe giving people some sort of praise, like what tier are you? Are you Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta? Like, you get to work up the ranks. And the great thing I really want to do for a technician would be, or anybody that was working and would use our app, would be, you can take this and actually get like a sort of like a resume out of it, right? I think that I kind of want to utilize that, so that way it didn't really felt like their work wasn't kind of getting unnoticed, right? I think a lot of times it's so hard to track so many people in their work if you have a lot of people, especially in a big, huge, environment, or big, plant. It's hard to kind of, keep track of all of that. So I want to give someone the ability to say, hey, I could keep track of my own stuff and I get to see all my work that I've been putting in, and they can export that data and then submit it or send it over to a new employer. And I think I kind of want to give that sort of ability to, the worker.
And am I right? Like, are you unlocking like challenges, like daily challenges?
Yeah. Yeah, daily challenges, weekly challenges, man. I kind of want to
I
make
love
it
it.
fun again. Yeah,
Yes.
make it fun, make it, to a point where, you're also making it safe as well. You don't want to give them a crazy like task or challenge, but you give them something easy to really kind of hit throughout the week. That would be something that I really want to see, for a lot of these companies, man, because a lot of people get burnt out, but to keep it fun like this, and you keep track of it and see your friends, or share it, cross it with on lunch or whatever, I think it'd be pretty cool to see that.
Yeah, the
Um,
leaderboard of the
the
technician.
leaderboard, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so it keeps it really fun, man. And you get to see speed, completion, and streaks as well, which is pretty cool. And then see, what they're also working on. And then let's go ahead over to parts. See what's going to be in there. Probably also not going to work. Okay, so parts should be able to give us that, barcode
Yes.
feature. But again, work in progress, and we'll try to get that out for a lot of people to see it in real time. And if anything too, like, I'll try to even put this on my own YouTube channel or see it on the company's YouTube channel. And a lot of the things that we're showcasing here, you can also see it on there when it gets fully developed as well over time.
It's good
So
because I was about to ask you maybe to explain or to share with everyone where can we find you
yeah,
if we want to work with you.
definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so for that, it's just going to be mainly Kaya Dalamanli across all social media platforms. That's Kaya Dalamanli, Dalamani, and that's the best way to get in touch with me. I have Instagram, I have Twitter, I have all the above. Um, yeah, just get in touch with me. I do have a website as well. It's just dalamanli.com. And on there, there's a specific email that's just for getting in touch with me. Instead of using like Gmail or whatever like that. I mean, it gets so messy on Gmail, but that's just one email just to get in contact with me if it's pertaining to business for sure.
Great.
And then here you go. This is the inventory side. So this is the same QR code you will probably see in parts. But on here, you get to see that. And you should, once you do able to click it, again, I think the reason why it's probably not working is because, again, none of the parts really are on this account. But ideally, you'll click it, and then the QR code would show up. You should be able to scan it and then also see more information on probably your phone or iPad or things like that, or share it across, other, teammates that you have. So that's the idea that I had for this would be, ease of use and also easy to share. And you can see exactly what station's at, what the location's at, and then the QR code or viewing it will give you way more, viewership or seeing more detailed information.
Okay.
All right. And then suppliers. So these are the suppliers you have. What I love about this is it tells you if you have a high risk sort of supplier, which I kind of like. So you get to see if they're moderate, if they're great, or if they're high. And that's just based off of the AI for one. It's also based off all the input data we have, right? So for instance, if they also have a lot of failed parts that get shipped in, that score gets to be monitored. And so if there's a lot of parts that are failing or not performing as they should be, that score gets to fluctuate. Now, a lot of it's going to be from actual human, checking those parts, and a lot of it's going to be through AI. And no, that's how the score gets to be kind of, placed there, which I love to actually see that on at least our program.
And
So
on this specific case, does AI has access to like the Google reviews or the Google rating of the company?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So you get to see that as well. You should be able to see that, and it should have like a little column on the bottom that says, "Hey, this is the review that we saw online." And again, the AI session should be something similar to what you see from ChatGPT, where you can actually just continuously talk to it and actually even check for more supplies if you wanted to, which I kind of want to bridge that gap. That's something I can say that I'm working on currently, is make sure that we are able to work with maybe, have an API call for ChatGPT or things like that. If people are signed up with them already, just, hey, plug in and play. And that's kind of how I want to build the AI assistant right now would be, if you are using one, why switch, right? And I think I want to make sure that the customer or the end user has that ability to choose.
Okay.
Yeah. And then after that, it just shows organization. I believe that one's probably not working. We'll see. And it's simple. Organization just pretty much means that you get to see all of your constituents that you're working with, right? So if you're, and this kind of works like how Discord works. If you're a mod, right, or you're on Slack and you're an admin, you're of course going to be able to see way more of the organization than someone else would. I kind of want to give the same sort of feeling of that on our program, where you're able to see, if you're Volkswagen, for instance, you're able to see the entire organization and not have to, you can see all those moving parts as much as possible. I know that's going to be a lot of data that's going to have to be, introduced in the future. But ideally, we would like to have it to where you're able to see everyone that's working in the organization, or at least the ones that signed up via the app, and see them all in that one place. And, they have the contact information, or they have their Slack information, they have their, if they have stats, you can see their stats there, to what they're currently working on. All the information should be right there front and center, and see also what department they're in. So you even have to question what department they're working in. So I kind of want to make probably like a yellow page for the app, so where you can actually track and see who's working with you, what their name is, and all that good information that you need to have will be front and center for you. So organization is exactly that. And again, work in progress. So going back down the line, we're still working on the recalls page a bit. It's done. It's just probably a bit buggy. Parts and inventory would need to be worked on, and that's pretty much about it. Everything else is going to be, of course, worked on over time. But of course, the pages that aren't working at all are the ones that we're primarily, focused on to get, fleshed out with those bugs.
All right, sounds good, Matt. Thank you very much, Kaya, for the demo.
Of course.
Much appreciated. So the app will be live early next year. That's the goal. That's exciting. Yep. It's going to go live. So now, thanks. Well, so it ends our episodes of today. Kaya, thank you so much for being here. No, thanks for the introduction to your software and OPS. It's really exciting journey. You saw a need and you're trying to help the people using your tool and make it even fun. So what a great cocktail. No, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, guys. That's it for today, for this episode. Thank you and see you around.